There were three quotes that were weighing on my heart when I went in to do show prep this evening. They actually have been weighing on my heart for the better part of this week. Watching as some of these crossover things develop, first of which was coming from, may he rest in peace, Mr. Charlie Kirk. When people stop talking, really bad stuff starts. When marriages stop talking, divorces happen. When civilizations stop talking, civil war ensues. When you stop having a human connection with someone you disagree with, it becomes a lot easier to want to commit violence against that group. Now, seemingly unrelated, this quote from famous controversialist and publisher H.L. Mencken. And guys, if you're not a Mencken fan, you need to dig, man, because he was way ahead of the curve. The trouble with fighting for human freedom is that one spends most of one's time defending scoundrels. For it is against scoundrels that oppressive laws are first aimed, and oppression must be stopped at the beginning if it is to be stopped at all. And bringing it home, my favorite degenerate, and let's not mince words, Larry Flint was one of the most despicable, degenerate human beings ever to walk the face of the planet, making him even more important as an arbiter and hero for freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and the First Amendment. No one understands that the First Amendment is only important if you are going to offend somebody. If you're not going to offend somebody, you don't need the protection of the First Amendment. Seems prima facie obvious, doesn't it? But for some reason, we still can't seem to get our heads around it. Now, there's speech that's protected by law, and there's speech that's protected by customs. There's things that you're allowed to say that you probably shouldn't. There's things that you are allowed to say that are outright hateful, but that's the importance of needing to be able to say them. And let's not forget that this degenerate Mr. Flint took a bullet, literally, for the First Amendment. So when he speaks, he knows from whence he speaks. But here we are, decades past the trial, United States of America versus Larry Flint. And if you haven't seen the film, it's worth the watch. They took some liberties with it, but Woody Harrelson did a good job with the role, and it pretty much encapsulated the way that things really roll. Here we are, decades past the trial, decades past the shooting that left Larry Flint paralyzed. He would eventually go on to die, like his hero Elvis, comatose and bodyguarded. See, that right there is one of those things that, while I'm allowed to say it, was probably distasteful and didn't really need to be said. Anyway, decades past. One of the teams involved here proposes that words are actually violence. That's right. Words are violence. And therefore, when you respond to those words with actual violence, it's self-defense. One of the most brilliant acts of intellectual gymnastics I have ever witnessed in my adult life. In fact, there are some among that team that will suggest that words are not only violence, but that words are murder. That's right. Words can kill. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will kill you. Not really, Sparky, but I digress. This idea has somehow managed to gain traction in an ostensibly free society to a disturbing level, even among men and conservatives. Now, here's the thing. Specificity counts. Let's get into not just the numbers, but the actual way that these numbers were arrived at. There I ended the sentence with a preposition, which, is probably grammatically bad, but still freedom of speech. I'm allowed to end a sentence with a preposition. In any case, 73% of men, now again, this is also an exercise in propaganda detection, guys. It says in the survey results that 73% of men and 86% of women think that words are violence. 73% of Republicans, 72% of independents, and predictably way higher, 89% of Democrats think that on some level words can be violence. But let's look down below. How did we arrive at these numbers? And because that kind of thing is important. Brother Sonny Buzikas likes to refer to the devil as someone who traffics in facts but not truth. Facts do not necessarily lead to truth. And that's very important when studying the works of the devil and very important when studying propaganda as a science. Here was the question: how much, if at all, does the following statement describe your thought? Words can be violence. That was the question. That's how they phrased it. Now, we'll dig a little bit deeper into the results of the study and find out how they arrived there. Now, it isn't the way that the first graphic would make it out. I mean, that would be pretty frightening to anyone but, a liberal Democrat who thinks that we should be gulagged for speaking opinions that are contrary to theirs. But that graphic right there would be frightening. You dig a little deeper, it's still frightening, but not as much. Okay, we remember what the question was. How much does this describe your thoughts that words can be violence, right? 22%, and this is overall across the demographic, said that 22% said that it describes my thoughts completely. 23% says mostly describes my thoughts. 23% said somewhat describes my thoughts. 12% said slightly describes my thoughts. And thank God for those people in the bottom demographic. 20% said that that does not describe my thoughts at all. Okay, so still frightening, but not as frightening as that leadoff graphic would depict. But again, the trends are obvious, and the trends are as pathetic as they are predictable. And that is the fact that women and liberals, and particularly liberal women, are more prone to get into subscribing to that train of thought, that words can be violence. What was it that Mencken said about defending scoundrels? Yeah, well, we were put in a position this week to come to the defense of a scoundrel, and many of us thankfully refused to do so. Rob Reiner was murdered this week. Now, Rob Reiner, famous director, horrible politics, not nearly as well informed on anything and not nearly as culturally relevant on anything outside of his, uncontestable skills as a filmmaker, right? That is a separate topic entirely. Why do we give credence to the opinions of people that are coming out of Hollywood that don't know what the hell they're talking about? But again, separate issue. Donald Trump, in the wake of this murder, and I want to say this was a tragic situation across the board. I say that absolutely and without equivocation. Rob Reiner was murdered by his drug addict son. Him and his wife murdered by their drug addict son. Terrible thing across the board. Donald Trump responded to it with these comments. And, just taking advantage of the moment to kick somebody when they're down. Now, is Trump a scoundrel for throwing this out? Yeah. For lack of a better word, it's a shitbag move, Donald. Sorry. I understand how you can make a case for it. We're about to dive into that. But it's just bad form, man. It's bad form, and it wastes a lot of moral capital on our side. That's just how I feel about it. I wouldn't have gone there, and I'm certainly not going to applaud the fact that he did. But let's be real. If we're going to propose, as the other side has, that words are violence, that means that when something like this comes out, that means that Donald Trump is being violent and dishonorable to the memory of their beloved Rob Reiner and all these other things, and that anything that they do to our side, therefore, is self-defense to this violence because words are violent. But let's flip the script for a minute. I wouldn't have gone there, but let's not draw moral equivalencies. Should we delve in for a minute what Mr. Reiner had to say about Rush Limbaugh's cancer diagnosis? How many of you here have lost a loved one or gone through the possibility of losing a loved one to cancer? I got to tell you, I dealt with it very, very recently. It's a horrific and frightening place to be, but I'll let you do the homework on what Mr. Reiner and his elevated moral compass had to say about Limbaugh, since we're talking about consideration for people who are suffering, people who are dying or going to die. Let's not forget, this is the same Rob Reiner. That top one, by the way, was after his account got hacked. When I was doing show prep, his account got hacked. This was a tweet that was posted credited to him. The real one is down below. 4 days. We cannot let a racist misogynist in league with Vladimir Putin threaten our democracy. Protect, preserve our Constitution. Vote HRC. That was for the 2016 election. Spreading lies, not particularly vile, not particularly distasteful, but definitely false. And here, an outright lie. No surprise, Trump colluded with Russia. We've always known his presidency was illegitimate. Now it has been proven, none of which is true, by the way, that we know in retrospect. For the sake of our democracy, this man must be indicted and jailed. And let's not even go into the words that he had for Trump supporters and Trump voters. This is the typical leftist. If they only had the stroke, they would see all of us gulagged or dead for having the temerity, the sheer unmitigated audacity and gall to have an opinion that differs from theirs. But Bart, it's insensitive. It's insensitive for him to say that. Yes, you're correct. I said that. No, but you don't get it, Bart. He's making comments dealing with a family matter. Oh, a family matter, huh? Oh, you mean like this one, where Newsom, in his political diatribe back and forth with St. Elon, threw this out? And Ted Cruz was right to respond. Since we're talking about what words are off limits to say, what words are insensitive, and why and to whom it matters. Governor Newsom press office, correct. We're sorry your daughter hates you, Elon. You want to talk about family matter? This is a man who is estranged from his daughter because, and again, I agree with his assessment, she was taken over by the woke mind virus. She fell into the trans politics and she has estranged herself. That is a painful experience. Feel however you want about either side of the issue. Imagine being a father and having your child step away from you over a matter of politics, a matter of identity, a matter of what, by any legal definition, is mental illness. It's a tragic situation. But we're really going to talk about that? And getting back to Charlie Kirk. Well, he was a supporter of the Second Amendment. How ironic that he gets killed with a gun. Well, wasn't Mr. Reiner a devout, staunch advocate of gun control? And he got stabbed to death. Does the irony make it okay in that sense? None of this is really okay. It's not a matter of legality. And thank God that we do have a First Amendment. Unpleasant things are going to be said on either side. And the only thing the First Amendment prevents is government intervention in those matters. As for the rest of it, it's all entirely self-regulating. But let's not forget, if we're going to be drawing moral equivalencies, the source of the very first quote from the opener. Once again, I'm going to force you to look at the moment of impact that ended that man's life. Literally, all he wanted to do was speak. Let's visit the quote again. When people stop talking, really bad stuff starts, etc., etc. The other side would gladly bring that debate to an end. They would gladly stop us all from talking. And since they couldn't, they exercised their protected speech. Another reason why I am thankful for freedom of speech and the First Amendment. So these people can show themselves for who they are. Trump got to show himself for who he is. Not that we didn't already know. Mr. Reiner got to show himself for who he really is. Not that we all didn't already know. And after Mr. Kirk was shot, the whole world of the left put themselves on proud, hateful display. And thank God for the freedom of speech that enabled them to do that, because otherwise that hate might have stayed in the closet. Let's revisit it. We all got to watch it play out in real time. Sane people all aflutter over some insensitive comments about a film director were the ones that cheered on a homicide. continue to cheer it on to this day, gave us such artistic contributions as this to remind us that they were on the moral high ground and that we deserved these horrible things that had happened to one of our own. Blue Sky was alive with it. Charlie Kirk won't see your jokes about him getting shot, but people who lost family or friends to gun violence might. And as one of those people, I say, keep posting those bangers, F Charlie Kirk. These people, well, kind of resembles a person, except for the adiposity, is trusted with raising and educating your children. And they continue to celebrate it. And let's not forget our favorite. Do I need to reach back here and open the door again? We got Charlie in the... Yeah, those guys. I'm thankful for that freedom of speech. So they can highlight and show us all who they are. And we can respond in kind. But it gets bigger. Speech isn't violence. Violence is violence. Speech that encourages violence is still just speech. But look at the end result. Charlie warned us way before his death. Assassination culture is spreading on the left. 48% of liberals say it would be at least somewhat justified to murder Elon Musk. 55% said the same about Donald Trump. Charlie was correct. They are being whipped into a violent frenzy. And that violent frenzy continues to play out, not just in America, but all over the world. The person who motivated the shooting of Charlie Kirk was Charlie Kirk. This is the words are violence crowd. And those words become violence when they start putting out actual hit lists, as came to the surface after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And it's not just here, it's all over the world. This unholy alliance between the political left and radical Islam, not just to destroy Western civilization, but destroy Christendom, Christianity. This was an angry Muslim attacking Bishop Marmari Emmanuel. We remember that from Sydney just a year ago, and the Bondi Beach shooting. Now, how did our side handle it? The bishop forgave his attacker. Good on him. I don't have that sort of spiritual strength, but good on him. But they continue to paint it up as if we are the ones instigating. After the Bondi Beach massacre, what was the response from the Australian government? We need to crack down on hate speech. Oh, you mean like the kind of hate speech that's coming out of radical imams and mosques all over Australia? Particularly around places like Sydney? No. In fact, they were asked directly about that. Well, since you're controlling for far-right extremists having their speech controlled, are you taking similar steps? Guys, look up the interview. They asked them if they were taking similar steps against radical imams. And, well, we embrace our... We're trying to keep alive our vibrant, multicultural society. Diversity is our strength. Always falling back on talking points. I'm thankful that freedom of speech exists. I'm thankful that it's out there. But let's not get it twisted. We are not the same. And thankfully, when our speech is on display, it gets to show who is who and who defends what. But we need to find our spines and let our balls drop, boys and girls. Because Charlie was right on this one, too. The left, and we can extend that to their unholy allies, radical Islam now. The left has never played by our rules. Only we play by our rules. Our rules are what keeps our side from winning. We either want to win or we will lose under some delusion that the rules mean anything. Our own rules and our own moral compass led most of us, if you really look at the media and the feedback after Trump's remarks, led most of us to distance ourselves and to rebuke the comments that were made. That's our moral compass. I'm glad that we have it, but let's not get to clinging to it so hard that we become victims of our own virtue. Because make no mistake, they are weaponizing our principles against us. They expect us to treat our principles, our scripture, and our Constitution as suicide pacts. And by sticking to those rules, we play right into their hands. So, in the final analysis, I agree with what you guys on the left are saying about those comments being shitty, about those comments being insensitive and unnecessary. It's a valid argument. I'm just not going to hear it from the likes of you. The opinions expressed by the Reverend are his own and no one else's on the planet. Not friends, not foes, not supporters, not detractors, not sponsors, and I cannot stress this enough, certainly not employers, although I won't be seeing mine for a couple of weeks here. That final warning was for the sake of you docs happy Antifa maggots out there. Do your worst. You've tried and failed before. In any case, the aforementioned opinions have been adjudicated thought crime in all jurisdictions. Consider yourself warned. They are coming from the heart. They are guided by the mind. They are guaranteed to forcibly stretch open that maw and force feed you fistful after black latex glove fistful of truth cock until your eye sockets lose integrity or you open your eyes and come to the light. And either way, mission accomplished. Welcome back, boys and girls. It's time once again for the Sunday sermon. How you been? Crank it up for the bumper music. Gonna roll over here and do the roll call. We got some good stuff to cover today. I think you guys are gonna enjoy it. In the meantime, where's the energy, people? Bring it on. Hard charging out of the starting gate as we come rocking, reeling, and rolling every single Sunday, with a few notable exceptions to the strains of Red Desert Gut Stomping Rock and Roll Band. From the smoldering embers and the crumbling ruins and now looted ruins of the once great American city of Minneapolis, Minnesota. The name of the band is Red Desert. The name of the track is Older No Wiser. Every week I get a little bit older. Every week you guys get to decide if I've gotten any wiser. Some weeks I do better than others. In any case, glad you guys made it out. Sister, the OG Center Sister herself, the divine Miss Emmy, taking the gold, making it on board. Joel Allen Jackson from the river, by the river, in the Midwest. And it sounds like he's making a hell of a dinner for tonight's show. Happy to hear it. Joel Allen Jackson on board from the Midwest. Brother Roman, one of my oldest and dearest friends. And if Roman is on board, that means that Carrie is hiding around here somewhere, and I'm sure we're going to find her. Miss Charlie showing up to partake in the festivities. Glad that you made it out, sweetheart. What is that? Oh, the voice you have to play day before. Oh, yeah. Ramen with a bestie and FaceTime with baby girl. It sounds like a hell of a day, hon. Anyway, I'm glad that we got the conversation going over here, and you guys are getting to know each other. There's Miss Carrie. I knew she was going to be around here somewhere. All the usual suspects coming out early. Brother Clem on board. Clem, do me a favor. Send me a text message right now. I need to know what size you wear in shirts or hoodies. I need to know that. So do me a favor and drop that on me if you would be so kind. Let me see who else we got on board. Greg made it out. What is that? Ridiculous numbers. Yeah, brother. They are seriously ridiculous numbers. But keep in mind, man, liars often figure, and therefore figures often lie. The devil tracks in facts, but facts don't necessarily constitute truth. We're going to be getting a little more into that, man, the specificity of it. Specificity, that's my college word. I got like 3 of those, man, so hopefully you guys will stick around. In any case, Preacher George on board. Dang, I missed the opening. Hey, brother, it's all right. You can go back and catch it on the replay because we're going to be revisiting all of that good stuff. Greg, I am glad you're here, brother. And, of course, Brother Wayne, speaking of old friends, we go all the way back to high school, not quite middle school. So W.M. Blackburn and Fred T. Ford in Newton, North Carolina. Right now, XL Tech sent. Good. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that good word, man. Appreciate that good word. In any case, a lot of good stuff going on a personal level. I have 2 weeks off. Going to be going down to San Marcos and spending some time with Miss Charlie, and taking a much needed break from all the stacking and tracking we've been doing out here on the wind farm. A lot of things going on the national front, on the international front this week. A couple of big dust-ups, and those dust-ups are just reflective of the larger picture of the way that things are going on. And we're going to be covering a lot of that. You guys took a look at the bullet points. Of course, the opener dealing with the sliding scale of word outrage, and we're gonna dovetail that into the rest of the bullet points that we're gonna be talking about today. In any case, man, before we even get out of the bumper music today, gonna go ahead and fade this on out. That is Red Desert, guys. And again, I want to thank these guys for being cool enough to let me use that track as bumper music now for over 5 years. Going on 6, man. Can you believe it? Like right around March or April, we're going to hit 6 years doing this doggone thing. And it just started out as a way for me to vent. It was cheaper than therapy, but here we are. Anyway, Red Desert, they've allowed me to use this as bumper music since we got started with this thing back in the early days when it was still the COVID cast back in 2020 kicked off. And yeah, man, definitely, I feel for those guys. Being from Minneapolis, I have a good, well, not me being from Minneapolis, them being from Minneapolis, I feel for them having to deal with all the things that are going on up there, not just the fraud that has been brought to light and the Somali crisis and everything, but just the overwhelming invasion that's gone on over there. I have a dear friend and a coach and training partner, brother in Christ by the name of Todd Fossey. If you guys have followed me and brother Sonny, you are aware of Todd's work, and you're aware of the high esteem that I hold the man in. He lives right there at Ground Zero in Minneapolis. And after the podcast the other night, we had a long conversation, and I got some boots on the ground insight as to what is actually going on in Minnesota and with regard to actually how out of control it is up there. Brother Vargas, glad you made it out, man. This is going to, by the way, guys, in all likelihood, this is going to be the last sermon of the year. I may do a quick one next week, but in all likelihood, not. Just so y'all know. So I'm glad that y'all are here. Glad that you made it out. Depending on the events of the week, if something really newsworthy happens, I might jump on and try to do this, but probably not. Probably not. Anyway, speaking to Todd, Minneapolis, man. Minneapolis has fallen, bro. I mean, there's really no two ways about that. And I find that deeply regrettable. Yeah, right. Yes, please, Vargas. And I want you to document some of that stuff, like on film. I want you to get that on video just to show. I want you to go in, and I know you have no qualms about going into it. Minneapolis was the epicenter of the fentanyl, the St. Floyd of the fentanyl overdose riots that kicked off in 2020, in the year of our Lord, the year of the trip hammer, 2020. The place burned, man. The place burned. All because a fentanyl addict happened to die in police custody, right? Bart, it's very insensitive of you to speak it like that because of the public perception. No, man, I deal in facts, okay? I don't care what your public perception is. I don't care how you've been told to feel about it. The fact of the matter is there was nothing illegal about that grip. There was nothing outside of the police training manual, and in the original coroner's report, there was no indication that it had anything to do with asphyxiation. You look at the original coroner's report, you look at the actual testimony of the jurors. They were afraid of delivering a not guilty verdict, even though that police officer should not have ever been convicted. He should be pardoned. I'm going to say I don't care how you feel about it, because what you are feeling is based entirely on emotion. Right? The actual facts of the case are the jury was afraid. The jury was afraid to give the acquittal that they knew that the officer deserved. They felt like they had to do this thing, or the fires in the streets would have been even worse. This is mob rule. Okay, let's look back into the actual root of the word democracy. Right? If you look at the actual etymology of the word democracy, it basically amounts to mob rule. So when they say that they want to listen, when these people say we are trying to protect democracy, they mean it. They do. They absolutely mean it. The devil, and I mean the devil, father of lies, is in the details. When they say they want to protect democracy, they want to protect mob rule. When they say that they want to protect democracy, they mean the kind of democracy that you see them trying to protect in Ukraine, which is to say a state completely out of control, outlawing any alternative opinion, going into churches, shutting down churches that disagree with the policies that are being instituted by the government, right? This is the kind of democracy that they're looking to protect. So they do mean it when they say we're all about protecting democracy. I know I went off on a tangent, but this all revolves around Minneapolis. All this revolves around Minneapolis. Minneapolis was where Derek Chauvin had the misfortune of being the first officer to respond to an overdosing career violent felon. Very, very tragic that he was put in that position and paid the price, an unnecessary and inordinate price, for being put in that position. But I'm not going to deify George Floyd, nor should you. I'm not going to deify the response to that, nor should you. I'm not going to justify the riots that took place in the streets that were coordinated, that were encouraged by these godless mobs seeking no less than the destruction and undermining of Western civilization and Christendom, seeking the destruction of this nation, or whatever means available. They'll stop at nothing. This isn't any longer a matter of agreeing to disagree. There's no agreeing to disagree. These people are in the wrong. ODP, objectively, demonstrably, provably in the wrong. Hashtag ODP. You down with ODP? Yeah, you know me. ODP wrong on all fronts. There's no discussion to be had. There's no engagement to be had. There is only finding the kindred spirits, building the community, distancing ourselves from those people and their idiocy, and letting them collapse under their own weight. And in the meantime, doing our best to insulate ourselves from the fallout of those spiritually, emotionally, and logically bankrupt policies that these people push. Cashless bail, you're out of your mind. Defunding police, you're out of your mind. Equity-based sentencing, you're out of your mind. No, we don't agree to disagree. You're wrong. And we're seeing it play out in real time. Right now, in California, we get to watch it play out. In Europe, we get to watch it play out. This isn't one of those things like you could have gotten away with in the 60s. Well, nobody's ever really tried this. And maybe if we just assign some more money to it and try things and take things in a different direction, explore the possibilities of believing that people are basically good and not beyond redemption. No. You've had decades now for this idiocy. We are getting to see the results play out in real time, and no matter what, it comes to an end. It comes to an end. In the same sense, what was it Charlie said? In the same sense that they have never played by our rules, we keep playing by our rules. Our rules are what keep our side from winning. They are in it to win it at any cost. They don't care how many lives it costs, how much human suffering is involved. They could give a plumber's about the Constitution or any legal principle, except in as much as it serves their narrative. And the minute it becomes inconvenient, it's to be discarded. Meanwhile, we cling to our principles and treat scriptures and constitutions as if they were a suicide pact, as if we're bound to this. Unintended consequences. Let me break down an unintended consequence for you, and then I'm going to bounce to sponsor shout outs, and then we'll get right back into it. Here's an unintended consequence. Why did we bomb Iran earlier this year? Why did we do that? To prevent an Islamic Republic from obtaining a nuclear weapon. Pretty morally high-minded and unassailable right thing to do, one would imagine. Yes? The last thing we want these people to be able to do is to build their own atomic weapon or to obtain an atomic weapon from a power that, like North Korea, has already created them. That is something that has to be avoided at any cost. Rightly so. Wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't you agree that we must do anything that we can to prevent an Islamic Republic from obtaining a nuclear weapon? Anybody disagree with that? Right. So, why is it then that we treat our democratic principles as a suicide pact? Because have you examined the demographics in Great Britain right now? Have you thought about it? White native Brits are about to be a minority. And Islamic immigrants and refugees are about to win demographically. They will be able to vote themselves into the centers of power. What a triumph for democracy and democratic principles. Only one problem. Great Britain has nuclear weapons. So here we are bombing Iran, rightfully so, to prevent them from obtaining a nuclear weapon, and yet we won't take the most basic steps to prevent them from using our own system against us to obtain a nuclear weapon. We will send multiple B-2 stealth bombers to hit a country halfway across the world, and yet right there where they are about to overwhelm white native Brits and use the power of the ballot to assume political control of a nuclear armed nation, we don't have the courage to step up and say, enough. Why? Oh, because that would be against our principles. So again, our principles are a suicide pact. We won't even recognize the fact that their culture is not only incompatible with ours, but certainly anathema to ours. But it's okay, ladies and liberals, it's okay because it makes you feel better inside. It's okay, milquetoast Christians, because after all, we're all created equal and we're all endowed with a little spark of the divine. Ultimately, we're all God's children. I don't buy that. In fact, if you guys will remind me about that before we close to get back to it. In fact, before I forget, I'm just going to do this little sign over here to remind me not to forget that. No, I do not believe that we are all created in God's image, equally in God's image. And you can hear me out on the full extent of that theory, and you can judge it on its merits. But this is where we are, boys and girls. They're about to take from us, with ballots and our own morality, our own moral and political code, they're about to take from us what they could not have achieved militarily. In the same way that communism tried and we thought they had failed. They couldn't have taken us militarily, but they have eroded us from the inside. Chinese are doing the same thing with fifth generation warfare. We've got to become comfortable with saying the things that need to be said, regardless. If it costs us friends, if it costs us relationships, if it costs us family. Because to not say so is going to cost us our life. It's going to cost us literally the future of Western civilization. All you girls with your cutesy little Handmaid's Tale cosplay, right now in New York City, I was watching this on Twitter right before I jumped on. Right now in New York City, there's a whole squad of the Handmaid's Tale cosplay girls running around protesting at conservative events out there because, conservatives have declared war on women. Meanwhile, they voted for Zoran Mamdani. Meanwhile, they approved the mosque within a short distance of Ground Zero, where the 9/11 impacts took place. It's great. I guess they're getting comfortable with the Handmaid's Tale thing because red looks better than the black of a burqa. But as much as they're protesting the phantom of Christian conservative theocracy, when the Islamic one comes and tells them to wear that burqa, they will embrace it. That's the difference between American liberal women and Iranian liberal women. They made the mistake in 1978 of supporting the revolution to unseat the Shah. And given the historical position, I could see why they would want the Shah unseated. Reza Pahlavi and the Savak reigned terror over the Iranian people. We never should have gotten involved when we went in and unseated Mossadegh. But again, this is all history book stuff that most Americans don't even know, even though they'll pontificate about it endlessly. They don't even know who Mohammad Mossadegh was, or the fact that British Petroleum was once the Anglo-Iranian oil concern. They don't know any of the history. Getting back to it, I'm on a tear all over the place. You guys track, and I hope you stay with me. These Handmaid's Tale cosplay girls, the Iranian liberal women helped the ascension of the Islamic Revolution in 78 that would wind up in our embassy being taken over in 79. And immediately when they realized that, oh my goodness, wait, we have to live under Sharia law now? We have to wear burqas now? We don't want that. They fought back. Many were killed for it. White liberal women here will have no such compunction. None. They'll shriek about Orange Man bad and, oh, it's going to be Handmaid's Tale. And yet, if the Muslims ascend and demand that they wear burqas, they will step in line. Why? Because they would rather be subjugated than be racist. They would rather be subjugated than be bigoted. This is how twisted they have our entire minds now as a culture. And we continue to play along. No more. No more. You already know what I'm about to say. I don't care what it costs me personally. I will continue to call this stuff out for what it is. If it short dicks every cannibal on the Congo and hair lips every hillbilly on Buck Creek, I am going to call it for what it is. Come hell or high water. I hope that y'all see it the same way. But if not, I'll go it alone. Never alone. Boss man and the carpenter got my back. Worst that happens is I go home. Sponsor shout outs real quick. Sorry, before I go any further on that tear, man, because I got to give props to the people who are taking care of me and taking care of the program. Shout out to Brother Roman, who is one of my oldest and dearest friends. He's over at opiumtales.com. You want to check him out on Substack at opiumtales.com. And dude, he's killing it over there. Killing it over there at opiumtales.com. Hey, Treasure Monk, Brother Jeff Truitt made it out. I'm glad. And I'm glad you're here for this, man, because we haven't done the scripture reading the Bible study yet. Dovetails really nicely. Opiumtales.com, the erotic pinups and portraits of people, beautiful naked women, tastefully done, and testosterone-driven commentary on Planet Bart. That's a trifecta. Check him out over at Substack, Opium Tales, right? And check out his books. He's got Roman Freely under Roman Riva on Amazon. He's got Roman Freely. It's a collection of his watercolor work, and you're going to want to check that out. Also, speaking of books on Amazon, you want to check out Freaks of a Feather by our brother Casey Tellison, half of the dynamic duo over at Nordic Smoke Barbecue. Casey and Dusty Tellison, the only legit barbecue in the Inland Northwest, talking about Nordic Smoke Barbecue. Just had the 11th year of the holiday tradition of smoking the holiday birds afterwards. They will be smoking Christmas turkeys as well. If you are in the Spokane area, definitely want to check those guys out. Also, Casey has now gone on. He is a published author, Freaks of a Feather, a combat memoir that started out as a suicide note. That is available on Amazon. Laytop Press out of Spokane, Washington. Casey Tellison, Freaks of a Feather. Check that out. Take care of the people who are taking care of the program and who are taking care of me. Now, let's jump back into this. Speaking with regard to saying uncomfortable truths, right? On the principle of this, do not make peace with evil, destroy it. We are admonished thusly. There's no peace. Tolerance is not a Christian virtue. Please stop. Please stop. Milquetoast Marty and the rest of the halfway Christians, leave it alone. What you are preaching is false gospel. What you are preaching literally is deliberately to undermine the true nature of that. Yes, we are to find redemption through the blood of Christ. Yes, all men can come to the light of the truth. But to act as if we are supposed to roll over and play dead and not confront evil for what it is, let's just put that to rest right away. Here's a quote, it's not scripture. Fear not your enemies, for they can only kill you. Fear not your friends, for they can only betray you. Fear only the indifferent who permit the killers and betrayers to walk safely on the earth. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the Milquetoast Martys. They're the ones, the indifferent. How about this one? Because we all know a few. Oh, man, I don't really follow it, dude, because I don't care about politics, Politics cares about you, Sparky. The events that are taking place, even if they are ones that you might not be able to have any material effect on, you can at least prepare yourself and the people that love you and the people that you love and the people who are depending on you to at least be ready for whatever may come. But you don't care about politics, right? Is that going to be of comfort to you when your little girl's tugging at your pant leg going, Daddy, why does my stomach hurt? And you realize the answer to that question is because you haven't eaten in a week, because you didn't take the time, that you've been shut out of a government bread line because you're a Christian. Oh, Bart, there you go with this hyperbolic pie in the sky stuff. Bro, we saw the beginnings of it during the COVID epidemic. They shut down the churches while the titty bars and the dispensaries stayed open. Oh, that was about public health, bro. Spare me. No, we're not talking to these people anymore. You reach out to them. You try to witness to them. But beyond that, nope. My responsibility's done. Pardon me, gentlemen. We are neither admonished nor obligated to tolerate and play along with people that want to kill us. What Yashinsky was talking about here, the indifferent, that's the majority of mankind right now. They don't care one way or the other. Because as long as they have the most basic material comforts, you can sell them anything. Doesn't matter. The Milquetoast Martys and the halfway Christians, they make me sick. Nah, bro, I would never take the mark of the beast, even if it meant my life, man. I would never take the mark. Really? I would refuse the mark even if it meant my life. You wouldn't refuse a jab because it might have meant your job. Weak. Christ forgives you. I forgive you. But the kingdom has no use for you. You think that's an arrogant thing to say? No, bro, that's spot on. The kingdom has no use for you because you are doing nothing for the kingdom. What, just because you show up at church every Sunday? When was the last time you opened your Bible, bro? When was the last time? How many verses can you quote from memory? If you're a non-believer, You can probably quote a few, starting with, "Judge not, lest ye be judged. Turn the other cheek." But I'm going to throw some out for you. Starting with the book of Ephesians. Now, you know what? We're going to get in Jeremiah first. "Cursed be he that doeth the work of the Lord deceitfully, and cursed be he that keepeth back his sword from blood." I'm not going to wade into the fight, bro. I don't care about politics. I'm not a bigot, bro. I don't get upset about Islam. Man, it's the Christian principle about loving all men and loving your neighbors yourself, bro. Yeah, like the ones that have sworn to kill you? Really? Is that your service to the kingdom? Are you tolerant, or are you just a coward? We both know the answer to the question. I just want to hear you say it. I want to hear you say it just once, to step up and go, "I'm afraid." And it doesn't matter which facet of it you're afraid of. I'm afraid that my neighbors will think that I'm a racist. I'm afraid that my boss will find out, or the HR will say something, because all these other Muslim employees might get upset. Is that going to be your defense in front of the boss, man? Is that going to be your defense? Oh God, I had that book of life thing. Hey man, I really wanted to, but I gotta earn a living. I couldn't. I might have lost my job. How am I going to feed my family? See, if you'd actually opened the book, you'd have read the other part where he said, "Don't worry about that kind of stuff, because he's going to provide for you as long as you're in service of the kingdom." But you didn't bother to read that. It's not tolerance, it's cowardice. You're weak. You're weak. You're weak, and I'm calling you out. Book of Ephesians, chapter 5. And you already know my favorite, Ephesians 6:12. "Fight not against flesh and blood, but against principalities." But Ephesians, letter of Paul to the church at Ephesus, and he was not thrilled with the church of Ephesus at the time. You guys should get off into that one of these days if you ever actually open the book. "Have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. For it is a shame even to speak on those things which are done of them in secret." All that is done in the darkness will be brought to the light, Sparky. You best believe. And we're getting to watch that play out in real time. But let's jump into Psalms, shall we? One of the things that I hear about Trump, and guys, listen, I want to be clear on this. Trump is not a godly man. Okay? It's going to upset some people. Don't care. I think he's trying to be. I think after getting his ear clipped, I think it made him reflect. He's certainly not a godly man. Nor am I. Nor are you. There's degrees. I think the man's trying, and I do think that God is using him in spite of himself. I think the tiny hat tribe has got him bent by the ear a little more than makes me comfortable. But one of the things that always comes up when people talk about the godliness of Trump, how would God pick a man like Trump to save this nation? There was a fellow by the name of David. You heard of him? Heard of him? See, if you actually open the book, you might have heard of that one. His first greatest hit was stepping up to a 12-foot Philistine and putting a rock between his eyes and then chopping off his head while still a little boy, by the way. Slung a rock between his eyes, felled a 10-foot Philistine, chopped off his head, and held it up in front of the Philistines. Later in his life, he would become a whoremonger, a murderer, a dirtbag by all accounts. He was also the greatest warrior king that Israel ever produced. You don't think God can use the worst of us? Saul of Tarsus, Scotty always cracks me up when he refers to that. After his equestrian mishap on the road to Damascus, he took a man that tortured and murdered Christians and made him the most prolific apostle of all time. Could he do the same with a spray tan clown shoe buffoon? Yes, absolutely. Is he? Don't know. Not my call. But it brings me back around to David and the Psalms. I will early destroy all the wicked of the land, that I may cut off all wicked doers from the city of the Lord. Does that sound like a tolerant fellow? Does that sound like a go along to get along kind of guy? Does that sound like a guy who's looking to compromise? Try to find some common ground? No. First thing in the morning, I'm going to track him down and I'm going to gut him. Arise, O Lord, save me, O my God, for thou hast smitten all mine enemies upon the cheekbone. Thou hast broken the teeth of the ungodly. Yeah, that one spoke to me. Step up, fracture his jaw jack him. Do you evangelize to them? Definitely. We are admonished to do that. Please, I need you to come to the light. Please, I need you to accept the light of this truth. Please, I need you to stop surgically mutilating your own women. Yes, I need you to stop stoning your women to death for refusing to keep their faces covered in public. I need you to stop that. Please come to the light of Christ. And when they turn to you and say, stuff it, infidel, we are going to take over the world. Is that the point where we're supposed to do what you milquetoast Marty and halfway Christians want us to do? That's the point where we're supposed to say, oh, well, I guess I better not judge. Guess I better turn the other cheek because they're all God's children. No, 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 no. They are workers of evil, and you stand against them and destroy them, or you yourself will be destroyed. Getting back to Psalms, this is all David. Break thou the arm of the wicked and the evil man. Seek out his wickedness till thou find none. And I can do this for days, people. You are not good Christians. You are not virtuous. You are not tolerant or understanding. You are cowards. You are liars. You are frauds. You are deceivers. You are tools of the devil himself. Expect to be addressed and related to accordingly. There is no go along to get along anymore. Not where we are now. We are too far down the line and the stakes are too freaking high. If you're not up to the challenge, step away. But I'll be damned if I'll have your blood on my hands. Come the day of judgment where you're standing in front of the Lord to look over at me and go, well, dude, he never told me. I'm telling you. What you choose to do with that is on you. With regard to another scriptural reference, a fellow by the name of Pontius Pilate that you might have heard of, I wash my hands of this. It's on you now, Sparky. Do with that what you will. All right. Let's get back into the rest of these bullet points, shall we? Because again, it's about words, isn't it? It's all about the words. It's the word play. Words like tolerance, because tolerance sounds a hell of a lot better than cowardice, doesn't it? Doesn't it sound better than cowardice? Here's another cowardice. Here's another bit of cowardice for you. You ready for this? You guys been paying attention to this? Medical assistance in dying. Maid. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? Permits both physician-administered euthanasia and self-administered assisted suicide for eligible individuals. The law has evolved significantly. This is a Google result, by the way. The law has evolved significantly since its introduction in 2016 and is recognized as one of the broadest in the world. Boy, you want to talk about, which is a nice way of not saying, hey, when it started out, it was something we could all agree on. People who were suffering, people who were in pain. I lost a dear friend, Charles Kraft. Charles Kraft, he was suffering with cancer bad enough that he had Antifa maggots harassing him on the daily as he's in the final stages of terminal illness. But that's Antifa. That's who they are. You expect dogs to be dogs. But according to the state of Washington, it was legal for him to have that assisted end. And God bless him, man. God bless him. I miss Charlie Kraft. Brilliant intellect. Amazing freaking ceramic artist. Controversialist without peer and just a damn good man. I loved him. He's gone now. He went out like that. Death with dignity, I think they call it in the state of Washington. I have someone very close to me whose father went out the same way. Good on him, because that is what it is intended for. Who couldn't get behind that? Well, I'll tell you what, there are a lot of people who are more devout Christians than I am who would say no. Okay, cool. You can make that case. I'll hear that. I'll totally hear that. I'll disagree, but you can make that case. But it's the same thing. What we told them from the beginning. It's like, look, dude, once you open the store, there's no going back. Same as with abortion. Same as with abortion. I'm going to tell you something, man. Listen, this is my belief versus the way the scriptures handle it. I will tell you this, man. In cases of rape or incest, I do believe it should be an option available to a woman in question. That's just my belief, mine. Scripturally, no. And there are people that are in my men's group, that are in my fellowship, that are brothers in Christ, that are very close to me, that disagree vehemently. Charlie Kirk disagreed vehemently, and I have heard the case that they make, and I can get behind it. I understand at least where they're coming from. But just like with abortion, this medically assisted suicide thing, always done with good, what is it? Good intentions. Something about a road and good intentions. What was it they said? Even as recently as the 90s, what was it? Bill Clinton, famous soundbite, that abortion should be safe, legal, and what? Rare. Safe, legal, rare. How do we get from that to women walking around at demonstrations with a t-shirt on? I've had 19 abortions. Musical numbers from comedians on late night television. Shout your abortion. And with the high kick and the dancing girls. Ghoulish. There's nothing funny about that. Straight up demonic. But that's how it goes. How do we go from safe, legal, and rare to it being codified into law? Again, guys, fact check me on this. Somebody over in the comments, fact check me on this. How many states is it codified into law? No restrictions on abortion up until the moment of birth. Oh, but that never happens, they tell us. Cool. Well, if it never happens, why is it so important to codify it into law? That a baby can be crowning and you put an ice pick through its tiny little head and it's health care. Go to hell. Figuratively and literally, go to hell. But we say at the beginning, this is where it's going to end up. The gay marriage thing. What did they say at the beginning? And I laughed. Oh, God, I laughed. I laughed. I fought back. I pushed back. I thought they were being ridiculous. 9 plus DC. Thank you very much, Roman. Thank you. In 9 states and the District of Columbia, you can literally, the baby can literally be crowning, and you put an ice pick in between its not quite closed up skull structure and its health care. Codified into law. We said this is what happens. Slippery slope is a fallacy. Okay. Gay marriage. A lot of people said, well, if you do this, eventually it's going to get further and further out of control, and we're going to have to adopt all these other alternative lifestyles. And before you know it, pedophiles will be demanding social acceptance. And I laughed. You did too, didn't you? Admit it. Some of you. Probably not George. George probably didn't laugh. George probably recognized it for what it was. But I can tell you for a fact that me and Roman both laughed. I can tell you that. Not trying to out you or anything, Roman, but you both know where we were at the time. And now minor attracted person is a socially acceptable term. Go to hell. Cultural equivalency, NAMBLA, the North American Man Boy Love Association. If you're not familiar with them, look them up. They will try to equate it to other cultures. Bachabazi, like we discussed in Afghanistan, it's all the same. It's all cultural relativism. That's a bullet point for further on down. Right now, let's talk about that medically assisted suicide law. We said it's not going to end there. We could all get behind a terminally ill person who is suffering, wanting to end their life through just a heavy dose of morphine and slide right out. I get it. Beautiful. God bless you, man. May your passage be swift and sure. Cool. But we said it's not going to end there. And now Canada, after we said it's not going to end there, and what were we told? Slippery slope fallacy. Isn't that what we're yeah, George, I know, man, I know. It's predicted at 30. I know. I was a little behind the curve, George. You got to give me time to catch up, brother. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. And you know what, Roman? I'm gonna take an issue. I'm with a minor caveat there. I used to be pro gay, not anymore. I would say, dude, you remember how we first came together on that issue right after the Paul Broussard beating death. I defended that community. My bona fides with that community require neither explanation nor apology. I have put in my time, my street cred with the alphabet people. I really have. But you know what? No, I won't even take issue with the phrasing because I can't consider myself pro anymore. Not with what it's become. Nor can most mainstream gay people. I wish Nancy were here. I wish my sister Nancy were here. They have stepped away from it. Because you have some people who are devout, good people. And then you have the movement, which is no longer good. It's no longer pushing for anything that is good. It is literally controlled by Luciferian interests and Luciferian manifestations, and that is where it's going. Up to and including sexual mutilation of children. When we first said that, when that thing first hit, what did we say? Hey, it's cool, socially transition, but let's keep everything under wraps. Let's make sure that we go, because we already knew that 90% of these kids will grow out of it if left into it. Let's keep them under therapy. And what do we tell them? No, we can't head down this route because they told us slippery slope fallacy, and now they're sexually mutilating children. They're giving chemical castration drugs to children. The assisted suicide law, same thing. Started out with the best of intentions. There's that road again, and those good intentions. Well, let me tell you what it's allowed. It used to be terminally ill people that had to be like mandatory. Hey, the death is imminent. We're in a lot of pain and all of these things. And now the legal provisions and the updates. Mental illness, eligibility based solely on mental illness is paused now for better preparation and safeguards. Why? Because people with mild clinical depression were going in and killing themselves. I'm not making this up. You can look this up. You won't. You won't. But you could. And what you're going to see is exactly here. They got to be at least 18 years old and mentally competent, making a voluntary request and giving informed consent after considering all available options. There's nothing stopping them. A grievous and irremediable medical condition. Let me say that again because it's one of my 3 college words. A grievous and irremediable medical condition is required, involving a serious incurable condition, an advanced state of irreversible decline, and unbearable suffering that cannot be relieved under acceptable conditions. Notably, having a fatal or terminal condition is not a requirement for eligibility. They are trying now to extend it to minors. Look that up. You won't, but they are trying to extend it to minors. And they're allowing it for damn near anything. Depression, clinical depression, suicide, medically assisted suicide. And when you look at the first search results, you've got the first little AI thing that ticks off, and then you start looking through the articles from Dordt University, the cautionary tale of euthanasia in Canada. Has assisted dying in Canada gone too far? I could live 30 years but want to die. Canada shelves plan, you ready for this? Canada shelves plan to allow medically assisted dying for people with mental illness. Seems like that would kind of be an exclusion, don't you think? How does informed consent and mentally ill track? I have long-term clinical depression. The quality of my life is suffering. I want to end it. It's wide the hell open, and they're only now beginning to check it. Like I said, not making this stuff up. Not making this stuff up. So guess what happened this week? Right here in the United States, right there in leftist central in New York City, New York State Governor Kathy Hochul, Medical Aid in Dying Act debate. There's no debate. She signed off. She signed off for step 1. And it started out the same way it did in Canada. But remember, kids, slippery slope is a fallacy, and it's certainly not going to grow out of control. Here's the beauty of it. It gets even better. They have moved to allow organ harvesting. They have moved to allow organ harvesting from people who choose to die medically. So the state and the pharmaceutical industry, the priesthood of medicine, gets to make their profits off this whole thing. Ghoulish doesn't begin to describe it. Luciferian, close. It's certainly demonic. What is going on with these people? Pray for them. Most certainly pray for them. That something will snap them out of this fog. That they will have some moment of realization when they're pulling the organs out of a person who killed themselves over clinical depression at the age of 19, that when they're harvesting the organs, something goes off in their head. Like that one abortion doctor that looked at this late-term abortion that he had just performed and the recognizable body parts in this surgical stainless steel bin and went, that is a human being. pray for them. Some of them aren't too far gone. Some of them can still be brought to the light. Some of them are going to be forcibly brought to the light. Because the time is coming. No more, man. No more. But let's talk about, and again, here we go. Rolling down the search results. Exploring assisted dying policies for mature minors. You ready for this? Exploring assisted dying policies for mature minors. A cross-jurisdiction comparison of the Netherlands, Belgium, and Canada. From Science Direct. Trust the experts. Trust the science. Don't give your heart over to those fairy tales coming out of that stupid book with that damn carpenter. Trust the science. Sure, man. Your soul. Don't let me get in the way. And we're told to tolerate that. Go to hell. Go to hell. Every one of those are hills that I'm willing to die on. I don't care. Enough is enough. Here's another fun one for you. Ready to go down this rabbit hole? What percentage of Canada's MAID law people are white? AI overview. The vast majority of people receive, I know this is going to come as a terrible shock here. The vast majority of people receiving medical assistance and dying in Canada identify as white Caucasian, with recent reports, 2023 data, showing around 95.6 to 96% of recipients falling into this group, significantly higher than their representation in the general Canadian population, with East Asians being the next largest group at about 1.6%. This in spite of the fact that white people make up 70% of Canada's population. 70% of the population, 95 to 96% of the medically assisted suicides. This in a country that is telling us that we have to keep flooding the place with third world jihad Johnnies because it's the only way to make the economy work. Let's not push, certainly not push white people to, have babies, but before they can stick around to have babies, let's not push white people to keep living. At what point do you finally acknowledge that you're being extinguished? At what point do you finally acknowledge and wrap your head around the concept that you are 8% of the world's population right now? You know that? 8%. Current demographic trends stay on point. By 2050, we'll be 3%. We are looking at a very realistic possibility of going extinct. And what does a college liberal tell you? Well, I can't wait. I think it'll be a great thing when white people are extinct. Really? You feel that way? My knee-jerk response is to hand them a handgun, rack a live round into the chamber, just drop a handgun in their lap and say, let's see how committed you are to this premise. Oh, you didn't mean all white people. You meant all white people that don't think like you. Just to the north of us in Canada. A person must satisfy all of the following to be considered for MAID, medical assistance in dying. You got to be 18 years old and eligible for publicly funded health services in Canada. You know, that universal free health care that AOC and the rest of them want here. Mental competence. You must be capable of making health care decisions and providing informed consent. You know, like the minors that want a gender transition. They can provide informed consent, right? That's how far it's been out of shape in the state of Washington. Informed consent, not real informed consent, not what was settled and what was supposed to have been settled at the Nuremberg trials. Capable of making healthcare decisions and providing informed consent. Voluntary requests must be made of the person's own free will without any outside pressure or influence. Like billboards in every train car and television ads and things like that. The same stuff that they do with pharmaceutical products. Are you experiencing depression, brain fog? It might be low T. Ask your doctor about, yeah. Are you experiencing depression, brain fog? Maybe it's time for you to check out of the gene pool. Talk to your doctor about MAID. You think I'm exaggerating. You think I'm being hyperbolic. Thauburn, your bitch ass, is out there saying he's finally lost his mind. I can't wait for it to come home to roost with you, Sparky. Fake ass Irishman. Your own people being bled dry in your home country that you like to thump your chest about being proud of, you weak ass coward. I don't know why that got put on my heart to call out. There it is. If you want to pass it along, go ahead. I don't care anymore. I'm so far beyond caring about any of this or what other people think of it. Clearly, I'm not beyond caring about any of this. Voluntary request, informed consent. Serious and incurable illness, that's gone now. Advanced state of irreversible decline in capability, that's been taken off the table now. Experience unbearable physical or mental suffering that cannot be relieved under conditions that they consider acceptable. What's in the details? Devil in the details. We can relieve your suffering, yes, but I don't consider that an acceptable thing, like having to live. As of December of this year, individuals whose only medical condition is a mental illness, such as depression or personality disorders, both of which were acceptable to kill yourself over in Canada, are not, as of December of this year, because of the public outcry. Before, here's what was acceptable: poverty, lack of housing, feelings of being a burden. As of December of this year, those are no longer on the table, but before, totally okay. The divine priesthood of medicine, boys and girls, the divine priesthood of medicine. Hippocrates. What was the oath you guys took? The Hippocratic oath, right? Oh, no, Hippocratic. Hippocratic, sorry. I get confused. I'm old. I forget stuff. First, come on, finish it out, doctors. Finish it out. First, 3 words. First, do no harm. And this is the damnable part of it. This is the damnable part of it. Because in their heads and in their heart of hearts, they have made peace with the fact that what they are doing is not doing harm. What part of your soul is missing? That you can take a child who I can't take to buy a pack of smokes and get a tattoo and allow them to get on chemical castration drugs. What part of your soul is missing? That an otherwise healthy 13-year-old boy wants to cut off his cock, and you think of that as health care. What part of your soul is missing? May God have mercy on you. And if I were you, I would get ahead of the curve praying for that, because there's going to be a day coming soon where God will be the only one. And if you have not made your peace with him, it's going to be a very bad day on two sides of the veil. I don't know if it's normalcy bias. I don't know if it's confirmation bias. I don't know if it's some twisted act of mental gymnastics that you have going on in your own heads. I'm really not sure what it is that's driving. I can tell you who's at the root of it. The father of lies is at the root of it. See, but in your enlightenment, you don't even believe that that exists. In fact, guys like me are just hillbilly rubes. You don't even consider folks like me your intellectual peer with your exalted titles and your medical background. We're not even on even footing. No, I assure you, we're not on even footing. We are not on even footing. You are evil. Irredeemably evil. May God have mercy on your soul. True story, George. True story. Almost like COVID. No one ever died from heart issues. It was all COVID. Now they push this shit and people fall for it. Yep. I pray for the Irish so often. True story. Anyone that wants to do that is not sane, in my opinion. I get it. Roman, you're right. Yep. Bro, we've had that conversation, haven't we? Yeah. I wanted to look at that link, George, and I'm glad. Yeah, the white dormancy thing, and I think that moment may be almost at hand. Yeah, that's when it gets evil, and they help kids kill themselves. Yes, indeed. If any adult makes a conscious decision to off themselves for whatever reason, let them. Might help the gene pool. It's up to them to take it up with God. Completely agree, bro. Completely agree. But when the state and its priesthood, Dominus Oblis, medical experticus, do not question the COVID narrativicus, we shall make your decisions for you and first do no harm, Hippocratus. These soulless fucking ghouls. Pardon my language. I've been really good about the F-bombs, but man, this is a tough one for me. Really is. David, I used to work at Baylor, and the students had no problem with the God syndrome until they took a class on it. Yep. People dying in gross car accidents were listed as COVID deaths. Shootings listed as COVID deaths. And again, we were told, all of these things. Boss man, what's done in the darkness will be brought to the light, and it's all coming to the light. All the things that went on during COVID, we were right. All of them, we were right. There were incentives being paid out for COVID deaths over other deaths, and therefore the deaths were being misreported to the tunes of thousands. It's no longer even something, not you can't even dispute it anymore. People will. They'll still call you a conspiracy theorist, but it's all out now. Myocarditis, vaccine injuries, all of it. We were right. Period. End of statement. Well, no, technically, if we fold this into the specificity, shut the fuck up. Again, that's two in the. I'm sorry, but just shut up. Shut up. We're all sick of it. The people who are in this class of folks should probably be very, very thankful right now that we do have the respect for human life that they no longer possess. Because one day that's not going to be enough. One day that's going to snap. There's going to be a casus belli. There's going to be some statistic that Pfizer's been hiding, that some doctors have been sitting on, that they knew about and continued to push. Something that Fauci did is going to come to the surface. And when that happens, you remember thalidomide? All the flipper babies, the kids that were born without limbs and stuff. You remember that? One day it'll be that. Some unforeseen vaccine side effect that are going to be tens of thousands of families that are going to be subjected to inordinate amounts of suffering because of some cover up, and they're just going to snap. Enough is enough. And there aren't going to be enough lampposts for the bodies of doctors that are going to be swinging in the breeze. Day of the rope, son. Probably not the way that Pierce would have envisioned it in the Turner Diaries, but maybe. I pray that y'all spare yourself this. I pray that y'all come to the light. But tick-tock, the time's running out, and you don't have time for it anymore. And even if you could, most of you wouldn't. Don't mind me just smoking a cigarette. I didn't see nothing. Want to smoke? Yep. Speaking of medicine. Oh, man, Turtle, glad you're here. Just remember how those folks acted during COVID. They showed their hands, their true nature. Like you said, no more go along to get along. Yes, sir. They have told us, they have shown us point blank what they are willing to do. If they would have only had the stroke to do it, if they would have only had the political stroke, and let me add, we're dealing with an unarmed population. Why do you think this has gone so smoothly in Europe? Why do you think they pushed it further in Europe than they have here? Because those people don't have guns to defend themselves. Australia, same thing. Jihad Johnny found a gun in Australia, but a law-abiding Australian citizen, good luck. And what was the crackdown? Again, this brings me to my final bullet point. We're just going to go out on that. We're just going to go out on this. Partisphere Gathering 2026. I love you, Clem. I love you. XL, right? Okay, good. Glad you said that. You're still around Austin right now. Yeah, Clem? Because I'm going to be down in San Marcos here in a minute. All right. It all ties in together. The overarching spectrum of this is very simple. White European blood must be supplanted, replaced, and eliminated by anything. But thankfully, Muslims and third world savages have offered themselves up for the replacement factor. The globalists are pulling them in. At the same time, Canada is letting that medically assisted suicide go on, with 96% of the victims of that program being white Europeans, people of white European descent. Whitey, paleface, peckerwood, whatever, white boy. And it would be bad enough if the racial minorities that hate you, by the way, we're kind of quietly cheering that on. That would be bad enough. Well, we got our own people. Well, I can't wait until white people are a minority. It's going to be so much better when all the white people are gone from the world. Why? How are we helped? Make the case. How are we benefited by becoming a minority in our own countries? How are we helped? Show me one metric that is improved. If we were being replaced by Asians, I would accept that case. Why? Because they have a higher intelligence quotient and culturally are pretty damn solid. There is nothing to be gained by any admission of the third world. Well, we're a big melting pot. We're a great big melting pot. Let me put that to rest for you real quick. Just real quick, okay? Because I've got this pulled up, and we can go decade by decade. Decade by decade. Until the 1920s, particularly 1880 to 1920, most immigrants came to the U.S., came from Southern and Eastern Europe, including large numbers from Italy, Russia, Poland, Austria-Hungary, Greece, and Scandinavia. However, the top three groups came from three countries, all the way up until the 1920s: England, Ireland, Germany. That's it. We're a nation of immigrants. Finish the sentence, Sparky. We are a nation of white European immigrants. Don't like it? Take it up with the boss, man. That is the number. Often fleeing persecution or seeking economic opportunity. Southern Europe, Italians, Greeks, Portuguese. Asia, similar but notable numbers from Japan and China coming into the West to work the railroad, heavily restricted by laws like the Chinese Exclusion Act. And it wasn't until the 1920s that the Mexicans started to come over. Okay? Early 1900s, 70% were coming from Southern and Eastern what? Europe. Different languages, different cultures, different religions. But through all of this, from 1892 to 1954, you ready for this? The busiest port of entry, Ellis Island, New York City. Peak year in 1907, 1 million. My goodness, 1 million people in a single year? Yeah, between 1892 and 1954, 12 million and change. In 60 years, 12 million and change. All of them vetted for disease, for violent criminality, for job skills, for politics. If you were an anarchist or a communist, you got sent. On busy days, 5,000 to 10,000 immigrants were processed. All of them were vetted. All of them from Europe. All of them were vetted. All of them culturally united and wanting to assimilate. Minor differences aside between Catholicism and between Catholicism and Christianity, between Catholics and Protestants, there's going to be some dust-ups. Between Catholicism, Protestantism, and Orthodox, there's going to be some dust-ups. But universally, culturally, they were all united, with the exception of the Asians. And the Asians had their own solid culture, which remains homogenous to this day, and good on them. The third world brings nothing, my friend. Third world brings nothing. Two recent examples: Somalia. What have they brought? What have they brought? What have they brought? Female genital mutilation. They brought that. Ready for this? 99% of Somali women ages 15 to 49 have undergone some form of genital mutilation. 99%. Hey, ladies, in your little red Handmaid's Tale dresses, yeah. You want to have a word with them about that? No, you don't. You don't. Because you're liars and cowards. You're a joke. You're chasing phantoms when a very real demon is right there in your face. Do you think that if Sharia law becomes the law of the land, do you think for 1 second that they are going to tolerate the mockery that you make of anything masculine? You are going to be beaten, possibly to death, in the streets. Good news is for you older liberal white women that are crying of where have all the good men gone, you're not going to have to worry about finding a man. The man's going to find you. And you're going to be wearing a burqa, publicly freaking enslaved. Careful what you wish for, ladies. That's Somali fraud. That's just the first example. You don't even understand. I haven't even gotten to the Muslim into the equation yet. Haiti, what has Haiti brought? Another SNAP benefits. Let me tell you something. Check this out. You ready? Ready for this? So the Haitian thing is now overtaking the Somalian thing. Again, a third world country, a third world shithole country. We gain nothing by bringing these people in to freaking begin with. And we're welcoming them in with open arms. No hate, no fear. Refugees are welcome here. And what are they doing? Rape, Again, feminists, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Toxic masculinity, violence against women. Conservatives have a war on women. Christians are offensive to women. So we're going to welcome in people that require you to be dressed head to toe and covered, where you can be stoned to death publicly for moderately pissing off your husband. We're going to welcome in cultures where it's part of a ritual where they no, I'm not going to be nice. Where they cut off your clits and stitch you closed. Infibulation, I think is the word for it. Somebody check me on that. Where it's part of the culture to cut off your clit and stitch you shut. And you welcome them in. Oh, but God forbid you can only kill your baby in 7 states now. Excuse me, I'm sorry, 47. It's got me so over a barrel right now. Yeah, you can only kill your baby in 47 states now. Oh, how oppressed. But meanwhile, you are welcoming these people in. You understand that when you import the third world, you become the third world. You do understand that these people have hell bent and declare publicly that Islam will reign over everything, that they will take over the United States, and that they are already beginning to do so. Dearborn, Michigan, places in Texas, places in Minnesota, little Mogadishu, where the Muslim call for prayer goes out over all these public loudspeakers, where Christians and American citizens are already living under dimitude. The only thing they ever brought in is jizya, which is the tax that you pay for living in a Muslim enclave and not being a Muslim. They excise a tax from you. No hate, no fear. Refugees are welcome here. And if it weren't for the love in my heart for all of you, no matter how stupid, uninformed, and self-destructive you are, I would be content to sit back and say, you know what? You deserve every bit of this. But even now, we are trying to save you from yourselves and your idiocy. I would prefer that you just said thank you and then went on about your business, realizing that you know less than nothing about the things that you are pontificating about. These people want you enslaved. These people want us dead. These people want Sharia law to reign over the land and to reign over the world. And you put on red dresses and talk about the oppression, the phantom oppression of a Christian theocracy and the dangers of white Christian nationalism. Let me explain something to you. White Christian nationalism is the only thing that is going to save your ass at this point. Now, you don't have to believe that. I'm content, like I was with COVID and every other thing, to let it play out. And eventually history will prove us correct in every assessment that we have made. I'm totally okay with that. But in the meantime, I'm going to kind of be inclined to ask you to zip your freaking mouth, sit down, shut up, and get the hell out of the way for the rest of us. Why do you think we train the way that we do to acquire the skills that we do? What? Huh? I can tell you a lot of the liberal women, oh, well, you have to make up for your small dicks. No, no, no. We're out here training like this to save you from the stupidity that you have inflicted upon yourselves. Every woman in Europe, every video that I see where they're taking the selfie and they've got that third world maggot behind them, touching, hey, lady, come here, I want you to, hey, oh, why will you not fuck me? Why will you not fuck me? They're out there. Look them up, ladies. That's where they are in Europe. And you want to know what they're griping about? Why won't the men protect us? Which is a valid concern. European men, where the hell are you? Why haven't you stepped up, snatched one of these people up by their light bulb shaped little heads and repeatedly pounded their face into a brick structure until they spit out their teeth and drown in their own blood and lung fluid? Why? Why? But ladies, don't have a whole lot of sympathy for you. Before this all started, where were you? See if this looks familiar. No hate, no fear. Refugees are welcome here. Reap it! Smitten all mine enemies upon the cheekbone, and have broken the teeth of the ungodly. Break thou the arm of the wicked, and the evil man seek out his wickedness until you find none. Have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them, for it is a shame even to speak of those things which are done of them in secret. Yes, we are admonished to extend grace and mercy to our fellow man. Yes, we are admonished to preach the light of Christ's truth and forgiveness and grace. What we are not admonished to do is roll over and play dead and have those principles used against us. The scriptures are not a suicide pact. Nowhere in the book does it require that we lay down and play dead while these evil minions groom our children and rape them, forcibly assault our women and rape them, use our own principles against us and take over by way of the ballot and let them assume control. Show me where it says that in the Bible, Sparky. I'll wait. I'll wait. So no, there's no more agreeing to disagree. Too much is at stake. Just in Minnesota, and again, I'll go into it another time, the long conversation that I had with my brother Todd Fossey. It's up to 18 billion now. 18 billion. Why is that important? Because the entire GDP of the nation of Somalia is only 12 billion. We let these people in. Not all Somalians. There's your fallback, isn't it, ladies? Not all Somalians. I'll remember that. You keep that same energy. You keep that same freaking energy. When I come to you and say, not all gun owners. When I come to you and say, not all Christians. When I come to you and say, not all white people. You keep that same freaking energy. The one-way street is over. The one-way street is over. These people contribute nothing. We are not obligated spiritually or politically to bring them here. We owe them nothing, particularly when the level of ingratitude is such that they have been handed the greatest gift and privilege on the face of God's earth, to be welcomed in to the highest expression of Christendom and Western civilization, the greatest nation in the history of the world, and we welcome them in with open arms, and you turn around and piss on us? Just with the Somalians, 78% of the Somalians here, that's nearly 80%, that's nearly 4 out of 5 are living on public assistance. while telling us what a shithole country we are and how horrible and racist and bigoted we are. You want to see racism and bigotry? We'd be happy to bring it to the forefront. And you and your little light bulb heads can get plugged into the same socket that you got unplugged from back in Mogadishu. Haiti? One of the warlords in Haiti right now is called Barbecue. Jeff Truitt, Brother Treasure Monk Jeff Truitt, if you're still here, can tell you some stories about Haiti. One of the warlords down there is called Barbecue for killing, roasting, and eating his opponents. Remember the thing in Ohio last year where they were eating the dogs and eating the cats, and everybody made fun of Trump until it came out that, yes, they were eating the dogs and the cats and they were snatching the ducks out of public parks. These people are incompatible. Not all cultures are created equal. Well, all cultures are created equal, but not all cultural practices are created equal. How is a culture defined except by its practices, by its beliefs, and particularly when these cultures are under the banner of Allah and Muhammad and sworn to destroy us all? No more. It is time to get very comfortable with people thinking that you are hateful. It is time to get very comfortable with people thinking that you are bigoted. It is time to get very comfortable with drawing a line in the sand and deciding whether you want to be subjugated in the very lands that your forefathers secured with their blood, sweat, tears, and gold, or if you're going to roll over and hand it right back to the savages out of some misguided sense of tolerance. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. As for me and my house, we will stand for the sake of that civilization that God has inspired us to create, his highest expression on the face of this earth in the history of mankind. And if I die defending that. If I get martyred by one of Muhammad's minions, may he stand me silently and slit my throat, and the name of Christ be the last word that crosses my lips. I will stand for that. That is a good death. What is not a good death is standing being tolerant while your world is ripped from you, while your wives and children are raped from you, and while that light that has carried us through the dark decades gets extinguished and snuffed out right in front of your face because you couldn't find the spine to defend it. I couldn't stand before my children with that as my testimony. I can't wait to see you stand in front of the boss man with that as yours. Lord God, I pray that those who would come to the light will come to the light. I will follow your admonition to carry that gospel to the four corners of the earth. And I will stand on principle for your faith, your will, your word, your plan, and your expression of justice in the face of the savages that seek to undermine that which you have ordained. The time's come. Choose. I am the Reverend. That is the gospel. I'm going to close with a prayer unless you guys get out of here. Lord God, we are up against it. We're in the thick of it. And you know what, Lord, for all the rage, it's okay. It's okay. Because at the root of that, in my heart of hearts, I have found that peace. I know that no matter how it goes is in accordance with your divine will. I have seen you abandon the nation of Israel because they abandoned you, that you left them to their own devices and they suffered the consequences. And that may be happening right now with this great nation because we have turned our face from you. And I'm ready to accept that, Lord. I'm ready to accept that. We have turned our face from you, and you have therefore left us to our own devices. And you know what? We had it coming. We definitely had it coming. But Lord, inspire in us the strength to find that will and that fire to say no, to come home, to turn our face back to you and say, Lord, we are yours. We are your people. We are your nation. We stand for your word and your will in this world. Let that revival come, and let it be on such a level that even the most determined enemies can't help but be shocked and awed with respect for the level of turnaround that it has created. Let the sacrifices of all who have died in the service of elevating the West, who have died in the service of elevating your word, let their name go before us as inspiration to steel our spines for the fight to come, Lord. Omnia ad regnum, all things for the kingdom. Let us stay focused on serving your will and striking down the enemies of the kingdom, striking down the enemies of Christendom wherever we may find them. Let us go forward boldly, break the teeth of the enemy, take it to them on the battlefield, and they will know by the fruit of our works and the chaos that they have unleashed on themselves, they will know that you are the Lord God. Pray these things in the name of the risen Christ whom I ever serve. Amen and amen. Thank y'all for being here, man. One thing I want to drop on y'all, speaking of training, little thing that I picked up on the recommendation of my brother Todd Fossey, who I was speaking of earlier, and this is a thing called the Mantis X. And I want you guys to put this on your shopping list. It'll be the best couple $100 you ever spent. This is it right here. This is the Mantis X. You will notice that it operates for all intents and purposes exactly like its real world brethren, the Glock Model 19. You can see them here side by side, right? Identical, almost identical in weight. The slide does not operate on the Mantis, but the good thing about the Mantis X pistol is that it is repeatable. You don't have to continually lock and load and putting the single round into the chamber to do that laser lock, right? It's here, bang, 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 and it's repeatable. It's repeatable, and you can. It's my favorite toy. You get measurable results whether you're using the reactive target or just putting post-it notes on the wall around the motel, like what I've been doing. And you can work your trigger control and your trigger reset, right, to squeeze off, and how that trigger reset and your hand placement affects the second shot placement on a double tap. You can work the drills of load and fire, right, drawing fire, and repetitive shot placement, and you're not having to spend a ton in ammo. It will more than pay for itself in the amount of ammo that you didn't have to burn with just a week of training with this doggone thing. But it is the Mantis X, right? And it is the Titan X pistol, And they've got several different models, but obviously the one that I got was for the Glock Model 19. And again, they have these weighted magazines that come with it that you can work your reload drills as well. Drop the mag and slapping a new one in and then getting right back on target. Obviously the slide doesn't work, so you just mimic that and then you're back, bing, bing, bing. And exercising your targeting drills with that. So if you're looking for something to give yourself on Christmas, you could do a hell of a lot worse than this. Again, Mantis is the name of the product, the Titan X pistol. The Titan X pistol from Mantis. It will be the best couple $100 that you're ever going to spend. And so good luck with that. In any case, I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys putting up with me just ranting and raving for a bit. That lone voice in the wilderness, man. Is it the same weight as a G19? Damn close, Clem, damn close. And if I get to see you over the course of this next couple of weeks that I'm down in San Marcos, I'll let you take a look at it side by side and you can judge for yourself. But even with the minor differences in weight, it's well worth it. Trust me on this one. And that's it. So hopefully I get to see you this week. In any case, guys, if anything that I threw at you, or if you just want to send me a Christmas present, whatever, I'm on PayPal, I'm on Cash App, I'm on Venmo, I'm on all of these things, Facebook Pay. I think I'm on Facebook Pay. I should be on Facebook Pay. Not really sure about that, but I should be. But I'm on PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, all the other stuff. If you guys want to kick down, I'll pass that little digital collection plate around. If not, hey, man, totally get it. We're still in some bad economic times, but it's getting better, thankfully. Day by day, it's getting a little bit better. Going to go ahead and fire up that outro music. Clutch, Neil Fallon and Clutch doing the best cover of Fortunate Son ever, period. In any case, guys, share the video, share the podcast, share the stuff, and spread that gospel, man. Let's get that word out. Heading into the new year just with a whole new direction and a new fire and zest for life. That's what I want for all of you guys. God bless each and every one of you. So share the video, man. Put it out there. Let them know, hey, man, fat toothless crane operator with some opinions. Likes to get on rant and rave every Sunday for a couple hours. Like-minded kindred spirit, maybe get something out of it. But if you can't, man, if you can't kick down, and no matter what, man, do this not just for me, but for yourselves, guys. Live the three. Mike, if you're here, hashtag live the three, baby. What do you mean live the three? What the hell are you talking about? What kind of weird cult nonsense is that? I'm talking about the three prime directives, guys. Three prime directives on Planet Bart's Rules for Life. First one is the signal to noise ratio. The signal, man. We're in a world full of noise. And what is the noise? It's the distractions, it's the lies, it's the obfuscations, it's all the things that take your mind off of the truth and focusing for the truth and plowing ahead for the truth. That's what it's about, right? So you got to be that signal in a world full of noise. You got to be that truth to punch that signal through the noise to the other side. You got to be the light in a world full of darkness. They'll try to bury you in the darkness, emasculate you, dehumanize you, demoralize you, that darkness. Make you think there's nothing left but the darkness. You have got to be that light, and you have got to carry that light through that long-lasting darkness. Punch it through the fog and that darkness out to the other side so the other people can see the truth and react to it, which leads me to the third rule, the iron rule, the final rule. You got to be strength in a world full of weakness. And I'm not just talking about this kind of strength. This guy, yeah, it's great. This strength is good, but it's got to be here. It's got to be here. And fellas, it's got to be here. Find your spine. Let your balls drop. Why? Because without strength, none of the rest of it matters. Without strength, you're not going to have the punch to get that signal through the noise. Without strength, you're not going to have the tenacity and the determination to carry that light through the darkness. Your strength above all other things. And when you hit your knees at night, and you better be, when you hit your knees at night, you pray for that strength and you pray for clarity and discernment, because the father of lies is always out there looking to trip you up. That's where the noise comes from. That's where the darkness comes from. He's looking to trip you up with those things. So you pray for strength, clarity, and discernment. Always. That's right, man. Put your face in some scripture and your ass under some iron. I promise you on my life, your world is going to be a better place. Remember, guys, Boss Man's got the plan. Carpenter's got your back. Let the Spirit work through you. God bless each and every one of you. I love you all. Merry Christmas if I don't see you before then. God bless. Stay strong. Peace.